This is Channel 253.
Channel 253 is sponsored by Alaska Airlines. I'm Nate Bowling, and I fly Alaska. To book your next trip, go to alaskaair.com.
This is the We Art Tacoma podcast. Welcome back to another episode of We Art Tacoma. I'm Erik Hanberg.
I'm producer Doug.
How are you, producer Doug?
I'm fantastic. It's a beautiful day today.
It really is a beautiful day, and our guest on this episode is Sarah Ioannides, who is the musical director and conductor for Symphony Tacoma. Doug, I'm curious, what was it like to hear her talk about, her art and her music this way?
I'm sort of a musician, but she's one of those real kind. And
Whatever.
So it was fascinating. She's articulate and powerful, and her performances as a conductor are the same. This is a great interview.
It is a great interview. Let's listen in. All right, we are here for We Art Tacoma, and my guest today is Sarah Ioannides. Did I say that correct, Sarah?
You did.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Erik.
You are the conductor, is that what I understand, of Symphony Tacoma?
Yeah, I'm the conductor and the music director at the same time. I have two roles.
Two roles. Well, you've been here for 5 years, you told me right before we started recording. How are you finding Tacoma as a music town?
Oh, this is a fantastic place to be. Art is great here. There's so many different kinds of artistic events and collaborations possible, so it's a great potential and opportunities for Symphony Tacoma to really have a blast with all sorts of different types of meaningful partnerships.
That's nice. You said you've been here for 5 years, but you only officially moved to Tacoma last year. How does that work?
So when I was hired here, I was also the music director of Symphony in South Carolina, so Spartanburg Philharmonic Orchestra. And so I was living there, and also we have a base in Connecticut where my husband works. So we, for the first 3 years plus, were commuting.
Cross-country commuting?
Yeah. Living in 3 places, schooling children in 3 places, and really traveling pretty hard.
Yeah, frequent flyer miles. I fly Alaska, hashtag.
Right.
Children as well. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, 3.
But you're here now. Is that correct?
Yes, we are. So we still have a base in Connecticut. So Scott's teaching at Yale, and we still travel a lot, but this is kind of home base for myself and the kids.
Yeah,
and Scott.
Is that common for a music director or conductor to be in a couple different organizations like that?
It is. Even at the highest level, music directors are in 2 or 3 positions at once.
Wow.
In high demand. Some of them conduct several concerts a week. Some of them conduct several concerts a month. I do conduct several concerts a month, not every month, but and in different places. So I do a lot of juggling and traveling. It's a complicated schedule.
Yeah,
and
I
lifestyle.
can imagine. Do you make it easy on yourself by saying, like, we are doing Beethoven all year in all places? Like how does that work?
I wish. No, fortunately, in a way, I have a very large repertoire list of over 500 works that I've conducted.
Wow.
So I can pull on repertoire that I have done in the past, but I really try to program to suit the orchestra, the community, what's been done, what hasn't been done. And I also challenge myself by adding new pieces every year and also commissioning new works.
That's really wonderful. How does one become a conductor?
Well, it's a good idea to start on an instrument or 2 or 3, or sometimes, in my case, I studied violin, piano, French horn, singing. I even picked up a bit of saxophone, guitar. You basically need to learn a lot about
Sounded like everything but percussion there.
Well, yeah. I mean, percussion is really important, actually, because you're giving the beat and you have to be rhythmic. Yeah. So I did actually play timpani.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So not on a regular basis, but yeah, you kind of need to understand all the the instruments in the orchestra, how they work, and it helps if you have an idea about composition. So structure of music, the language of music, and of course I studied a great history of music at Oxford University. Then I went to Juilliard and studied conducting, as well as Curtis Institute of Music, and came on a Fulbright study to really get to the bottom of technical aspects as well as the understanding of the leadership aspects and the rehearsal technique and all of that kind of things.
So I don't think I'm going out on a limb here when I say that it sounds like you really like music.
Well, you kind of have to.
That's what I'm thinking.
Most musicians do this because it's their calling, it's their passion, it's what they believe in. That's certainly the case for me. Some musicians, we need to often have more than one job just to make a living. Mm-hmm. This is non-profits arts world, and it's a challenging as any profession to have, and you're testing yourself. You're only as good as your last performance. You have to continue to practice. You're not sort of ready, set, go for the rest of your life. Once you get through your training, you have to keep up your skills. You have to keep practicing. So it's pretty intense, and I definitely felt a strong calling to do this. And I was always thinking, well, if it doesn't work out, there's other things I can do.
Sure.
And, there have been times in my career where I thought maybe it's time to call in one of those other things. And then there have been times where I actually did do other things when I was doing conducting part-time. But certainly the last 10, 15 years, it's been pretty full-on intense working as a professional conductor.
Is there something about the symphony or the orchestra style of music that really calls to you? Like why go into that particular genre, for lack of a better word?
Well, I think the immersion in this form of art is so extraordinary. Anybody who's sat on stage, played in an orchestra, felt the vibrations of being surrounded by incredible acoustic instruments with multiple harmonies, rhythms, the diversity of the material we play. We play music from right back from the, mostly 18th century, mm-hmm. all the way to the present day. Mm-hmm. That is a huge span of history with such a diverse range. So, I love Tchaikovsky, Stravinsky, Debussy, Beethoven, Mozart, Schumann. I mean, it's so deep, that well that you can immerse yourselves in, and you're sharing the deep philosophical thought and understanding of humanity over hundreds of years, and a high art level of complexity that can also be, even if you don't understand how it's put together, the message gets to you right away. So I find it very powerful.
I had the opportunity when I was growing up. My friends were playing in the youth symphony here in Tacoma, and so I would go to the Rialto, and this would have been in the 90s, and see my friends, play in the symphony. And so I was exposed to work that I probably never would have sought out in some ways. And it's interesting to know those performances, to feel the way, unexpectedly. I didn't know that Copland had taken Simple Gifts and put it into Appalachian Spring. Like I kind of knew this tune, but I didn't know that. And so I'm just there to watch my friends, and suddenly, there's this just rich, powerful music that just really struck me. It's a really wonderful thing to dive into. I didn't expect it, but it turned out to be a real joy.
And you spotlight there something that I think is really an important legacy, taking an old folk melody and perpetuating it, making it modern, making it current, making it present into today's day and age. We can call upon all of those melodies from whether it's Tchaikovsky and, put it in its new light, and it's carrying forward some of the culture and history of our humanity, which only humans can do, of course.
Right. Right, and I've got the other side of it too, which is I'm a film nerd, and I used to be the director of the Grand Cinema, and just the soundtracks. And like, if you really love soundtracks, I mean, so many of those are either derivative of classical music. Like when you look at Star Wars and the New World Symphony or something like that. I mean, there's so many clear parallels in the music. Like, it's fun to see how that history evolves and grows.
And I love the fact that movie scores, they use live orchestras. I mean, that is just the best thing. It's the best sound. You can't quite reproduce. And in a way, that's why I think symphonies haven't been replaced by modern music, because it's such a special, individual, unique sound. And when you have a performance, it's always one time, and it's going to be different every single time. It's living, breathing. It's living art.
Yeah. And it seems like a lot of symphonies are really they're not trying to just live in the past. They're moving forward. They're doing soundtrack. They'll do something from a soundtrack. I even read about something where someone's doing like a video game.
Yeah, we've done that.
Okay.
Yep, and we're going to do it again next year.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
video
really
games
cool.
live.
Wow.
With the orchestra and visuals.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that that's where people experience it, and so moving into that makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What would you tell someone who is interested in playing in a symphony and moving into maybe even conducting? Like, is this something? What should they start? What should they start doing? Let's say that they're young enough that they still have some school opportunities.
Well, I host a masterclass in conducting. This is second year. It's called Cascade Conducting. And so we welcome auditors, people to just attend that, to watch how conductors learn. We have musicians from Symphony Tacoma playing in that masterclass. And we also invite conductors themselves, if they play an instrument, to play in the orchestra as well. And that's one of the ways that I actually started conducting was from playing within an orchestra. You have a unique perspective there. You know what you like, you know what you don't like, you know what you need, you know what you're not getting.
Right.
And that's a really important side. So you asked me earlier, do I play an instrument? It's like, well, absolutely. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without being a musician in my heart and a musician by trade, by training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, check it out. Cascade Conductors.
Okay. Well, that's a good time to take a quick sponsor break. And then when we come back, we will talk about the upcoming production of Symphony Tacoma, which includes a classic of Beethoven and also a new piece with a world premiere. Stick around.
This is Nate Bowling, host of the Channel 253 sister podcast, Nerd Farmer. Fam, you know I'm all about travel. I love traveling to away games for the Sounders or Tacoma Defiance. I love visiting new cities and cultures. And that's why I'm so grateful to have a hometown airline like Alaska right here in my backyard, because they get me wherever I want to go. If you haven't heard yet, Alaska Airlines is sponsoring an amazing opportunity for members of Channel 253. Anyone who is a current member of Channel 253 on June 17th, 2019 will be entered to win air travel for 2 anywhere Alaska flies. Got that? I'll say it again. Join Channel 253 anytime between now and June 17, and you will be eligible to win air travel for 2 anywhere Alaska flies. That means Cancun, people, Cabo, DC, Pittsburgh, Vegas, Columbus, Anchorage, San Francisco. I'm just listing great cities now, but you get the idea. Sign up for Channel 253, support what we're doing, and be entered to win air travel for 2. To sign up, visit channel253.com/Alaska. Terms and conditions apply. To all the fine people at Alaska Air, thank you for sponsoring this promotion and for your longtime support of Channel 253.
And welcome back. Thanks to our sponsor. And this is just a quick plug to say if you are enjoying this show, you should consider becoming a member of Channel 253. $4 a month or $40 a year. And I will also say that we have that promotion going on where anyone who is a member of Channel 253 on June 17th will be entered to win round-trip airfare for 2 on Alaska Airlines. So that's a reason to join. Okay, so we are back with Sarah to talk about the upcoming show, performance, symphony, that will be on May 11th at 7:30. And we have 2 pieces to talk about. Which one do you want to start with first?
Let's start with Beethoven.
Okay, start with the classic. Symphony number 9, Beethoven. So my daughter is kind of learning piano, and Ode to Joy is one that she was plucking out, and she asked, what is an ode? And I told her it's like when you like something. And so she wrote, I like joy, with a little picture of Beethoven here, as she was trying to pluck this out. But even in these like one-note little things, I can still hear Ode to Joy. It's just that iconic piece of a music, but it's part of something much larger. Do you want to talk about why the Symphony No. 9 and Ode to Joy still resonate so many years later?
Well, absolutely. This is a work that has been hailed, since, I say, nearly 200 years, written in 1820s, and taking incredible energy and power. Composer after composer has written how awesome this piece of music is, and how Beethoven is basically like God, and nobody can reach him. And this piece is all about transformation, from darkness to light. And the journey of Beethoven's was really difficult. He was deaf when he wrote this, and to go through that journey, go through his life and how he struggled, and how he struggled to be recognized, how he struggled to sometimes to be a composer. There were periods of quietness, and how the turnaround with, I suppose, acceptance of the situation is finding that happiness and that spiritual light, whether it's the divine ecstasy, which this piece is all about. And Schiller's Ode to Joy is the words that he's taking from, and Die Freude, from the joy, is really about finding commonality and brotherhood and happiness in our joy, the lightness in our life, and transformation from being in a dark place to light. It's always going to be relevant.
We could use that right now, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. And to start the program, we've actually commissioned a wonderful female composer who's called Hannah Lash, and she's writing a piece that's titled In Hopes of Finding the Sun.
Sounds like us in like March.
Yeah. And it's really attributed to Beethoven 9 and this amazing journey of seeking light. And both pieces use the full forces of Symphony Tacoma voices. We've also
they use what now? You said
the full forces of the symphony orchestra, but also we've got this massive chorale that sings the Ode to Joy in the Beethoven 9, but also sings on Hannah's commission. And we'll have about 100 singers singing this with us.
This is going to be a very full stage.
It will be massively full. We will probably not have any room to spare, but we do have 4 really spectacular soloists as well. But with Hannah's work, it's really about tributing Beethoven and recognizing where we are in today's world, and of in darkness in many places, and seeking the light with Beethoven's work as inspiration.
What does that involve to commission a piece of, a massive piece of art? This is a really big deal. What does that take when you call up Hannah Lash and you'd say, can you do a riff on Beethoven? like how does that work?
Well, first of all, you have to select the composer.
Sure.
That can be a hard job in itself. There are so many incredible composers. Who's the right fit? And I'm really looking for somebody who will bring the right style and air and won't take anything away from Beethoven 9, but will hold it up in respect and play something. So I was actually looking for a composer who had a certain lightness and beauty and transparency and visibility, as well as a really strong individual voice. I was looking for a woman composer because we need to give women the stage. because many works on most orchestras programs are, of course, from the last hundreds of years. And during those last hundreds of years, women were not really given that opportunity. So this is a wonderful time to give as many opportunities. This is probably, I think this is the fourth world premiere that I've done with Symphony Tacoma. So once you've found the composer, you're really looking for building that relationship. Are they interested? Do they have time? Many composers such as Hannah Lash, of somebody of that level of recognition, renowned, she's had works performed by the LA Chamber Orchestra, commissions, internationally, nationally. So she's pretty busy. I have to see if they've got a spot in their calendar available in the next 2 years,
Oh, my.
And then, you have to see if they're interested, if they have time. And then, of course, in her case, she has a publisher. We have to get the two organizations together, we talk about mutual common ideas about what this piece is going to represent, why it's important for me, what I'm looking for the orchestra and for the audience. And then sort of let them think about it, let them come back with ideas, see if it's a natural fit, and then start taking care of the business side of it. You have to raise money for the commission fee, and get all of that sort of knuckled down. When do we need music by? When do I need a score by? When does the choir need music by? All that kind of different stuff. And, then it's about to happen. And we all have to get ready for it.
Will she be in Tacoma for the premiere?
She will.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful. I have to imagine that's a pretty wonderful feeling for a composer when someone asks them to do that and pays them to do that, and then they get to see it.
Yes. It's pretty exciting.
And Tacoma gets to hear it.
Right. And we give birth to something, it's our piece. A couple of years ago, I commissioned a work by Daniel Ott, and it was 7-partner collaboration with funding from National Endowment of the Arts and some wonderful sponsors, dear friends of ours, as well as a partnership with the Glass Museum, the Hilltop Glass Artists, Mount Rainier National Parks, our orchestra and the choirs, and Lincoln High School. And so there was a lot of education projects. So there's many things that then go beyond just creating the music and having it sit there, but relationships that develop over this time period, and circling back with those pieces and trying to use it as an opportunity to inspire our culture, our children, our community, to be creative and to seek everything we possibly can for what the vision is, what Tacoma can be, what music can be for people, and really be an inspiration and an opportunity for people to develop from this opportunity.
I think that's a really important point, just because it's not just that performance, it's then how you can use that to, as you said, educate and inspire, put instruments into the hands of youth, and or show them something that they maybe hadn't seen before. It's pretty great. Yeah. Okay, so the performance, as I look through my notes here, is going to be on May 11th, 7:30 at the Pantages. 100 people from the Bremerton Choral Symphony.
Well, I'm just going to chime in there and say we have the Bremerton Symphony Chorus joining our own Symphony Tacoma voices.
Oh, my goodness.
So we've expanded our choir for this special occasion.
So it's going to be two choruses together just to get that.
Yeah. We have an incredible director, Jeffrey Bors. He's the head of choral program in Seattle, UW program in Seattle. He's a wonderful director, so he'll be leading those, and we're thrilled to have Bremerton Symphony Chorale with us, and we have 4 spectacular soloists, and this is going to be exciting.
That is really exciting. I think Doug, who's also a musician, wanted to chime in here.
I was wondering what the total number of voices there will be for the performance.
I think close to 100.
It's amazing.
Yeah, pretty close to 100. Yeah.
plus all of the musicians in the symphony, and that sounds like a wall of sound that is going to be...
It's going to be pretty impressive. And the Pantages is newly renovated.
It's beautiful.
So it is gorgeous. So if you haven't got out there yet, I think this is a wonderful, wonderful time to come out and be part of something that celebrates life and the journey from darkness to light.
Yeah. Do you think, so I have a newly minted 7-year-old, do you think that this is the kind of thing that someone who has been plucking away on the keys of Ode to Joy might appreciate, or do you think that we might be stretching her attention span?
Well, it's a good question because I have young children and I do bring my children to performances and often, well, mostly have. So they've grown up with that. So it really depends on your child and how ready they are. Beethoven 9 is a long work. It's 70 minutes from start to finish. It's 4 movements. The choir, the part that everybody knows really happens at the end. So you have to be really patient but the rest of the symphony is extraordinary.
I was listening it to today as I was preparing for this, and it was beautiful. Yeah.
We do have children's programs. We do have Peter and the Wolf on May the 5th.
Great.
And that's at UPS, and we have a lot of education programs actually beyond what we do with the symphony. So I'd say if your child is kind of a starter bee, maybe bring them to some of our other programs. This is kind of a long sit unless you're close to the exit door and you can come in and out if they're a bit shuffly. But we do try to encourage young audiences to come, family concerts. But this is, I think.
Sounds like it might be a little long.
It might be long. I'm going to be warning. If I bring my kids, I'm going to be warning them. This is long. I often have them bring a notebook or a sketchbook or even a book to read so that they still get the absorption of music at the same time.
Yeah,
so
that's good advice. Okay. Final question, and I'm going to put you on the spot because I didn't prepare you for this in advance. One of the things that we like to do on this show is just give guests the opportunity to give a shout out or kudos to some organization or person in Tacoma whose artistic work you really respect or really like right now, and just want to give them a plug and say, here's a gold star, good job. Anyone come to mind, or any organization come to mind?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to give a good plug for my PT trainer, my physical therapist, and strength and conditioning trainer, Alison Unterreiner.
Okay.
She's an incredible person and is helping prepare me for an upcoming half marathon, which is a fundraiser for Symphony Tacoma.
Yeah.
And this is to overcome, I've had 2 knee surgeries in my profession as a conductor. And so being able to have that strength, and also, it's a very demanding physical job on the podium. So having her help, and she works at the South Sound Hand and Physical Therapy in Tacoma.
Yeah,
so
that is not where I thought you went, but I like it. That sounds great. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And again, just to remind people, May 11th, 7:30, we'll put a link in the show notes. Thank you, Sarah.
Channel 253 is sponsored by Alaska Airlines. I'm Nate Bowling, and I fly Alaska. To book your next trip, go to alaskaair.com.
This is Channel 253.